Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of voice of radio. So today we need to be having a little bit of a chat about a bunch of new cards that have gone and been revealed from, Night Wanderer over in Japan, which means they're coming in Shrouded Fable. It's not confirmed that they're coming in Shrouded Fable, but come on. They're coming in Shrouded Fable. We're looking at a bunch of basic Pokemon today, and I want to start off having a look at Eeletlo, because this is a cool Pokemon, and there's a new one, and it's often a very good Pokemon that ends up being very good. Is this new one any good? And the answer is, yeah, kind of. Now, it's got 120 HP, basic is fine, free energy, 100 damage, flip a coin, if heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It's not good. Free energy is too much. 100 damage is too little. Even with weakness, you're not getting Pokemon V. There's tricks and ways around it. Don't worry about this Eeletlo, right? Not for this attack. It's not good. But I do like the first attack. Single darkness energy, and you put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage on them already. And that is pretty gosh darned awesome. Because all you're doing is just putting the damage on, and the thing is it gets around stuff. Now, it won't actually get around Jirachi, because remember, Jirachi stops damage counters being placed by basic Pokemon. This is a basic Pokemon that is trying to drop damage counters, so yes, Jirachi will stop this, alright? But Manaphy won't. So if your opponent's playing Manaphy, this is great. If they're playing Jirachi, it's not. But the other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, we are in Twilight Masquerade finally getting a really good basic spread Pokemon. A Pokemon that is basic, that can spread good damage, that I am a rather large fan of. It's Ting-Lu. I adore the new Ting-Lu. Single fighting energy, 30 damage, but if there's a stadium in play, it also does 30 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Yes, I am aware that in terms of spreading damage, 30 is better than 20. Doing it to everybody is better than doing it just to Pokemon that already have damage on. I'm not claiming that Eeletlo is better than Ting-Lu, because it's not. What I am, however, saying is that it doesn't need a stadium in play, and that it's got a lower retreat cost, and that it gets around Manaphy, though not Jirachi, and that actually there are a bunch of times where this will help. Do I think it replaces Ting-Lu? No. I think Ting-Lu is better. Do I think it works quite nicely as a friend to Ting-Lu? Yes. Yes, I absolutely do. And actually, I should give a quick note here. It's not just Ting-Lu, although Ting-Lu is great. Remember Frostlass from Twilight Masquerade? Puts 1 damage counter on each Pokemon that's got an ability during Pokemon Checkup? Yeah, this one might pair quite nicely with that now, mightn't it? I'm going to go ahead and give this between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Not a stunning card. And like I say, if you can keep a stadium in play, Ting-Lu is just better. But there are reasons to play this alongside that, and that's pretty cool. But if we're going to play Eeletlo and talk about that, maybe we should have a chat about another basic Pokemon. A basic Psychic type Pokemon that makes a rather nice pairing with it. It's Cresselia! Yeah, it's not Xerneas, sorry about that. We don't have a new Xerneas, we've got a new Cresselia. What do you want me to do about it? That's what got revealed. And what we've got here is a decent basic Pokemon. Again, 120 HP. Single energy, heal 20 from all of your Pokemon. This is another one where it's rarely going to end up being that useful. You basically need to find a time where your opponent isn't attacking for whatever reason that might be. And if you can find a turn where they're not attacking, where you can use this with no real risk, I like it very much indeed. And I think it could be really rather good. But I'm also well aware that there are going to be quite a lot of games where you just cannot play this without giving up a prize. And frankly, giving up a prize is going to be, a little bit too much. But if you can find the time, do a bit of healing, could be alright. We've also got free energy, 80 damage. You may turn one of your face down prize cards face up, and then do 160. Now, there are several things about this which I think is pretty important. Firstly, you have to actually have a face down prize card to turn face up. Alright? Because if you don't, then what's even the point? Honestly. And secondly, it turns them face up. And that's important for stuff like the Chansey from 151. I like the Chansey from 151. I love the idea that if it's taken as a face-down prize card and you flip ahead, you've got a bench space, you can literally get an extra prize for nothing, just for benching it. But you must take it as a face-down prize card. The second it's face-up, the ability doesn't work anymore. So, free energy, it can work. We've got Gardevoir around at the moment. Gardevoir will accelerate the energy rather nicely. So, whereas with Eeletlo, I'm not loving the attack, here, I kind of am. Like, 160 is a decent amount of damage for a single prize Pokemon. Gardevoir EX means that we can get the energy on there without worrying too much. And then it's a decent attack. Is it phenomenal? No. Is it decent? Yeah. Let's go ahead and give this a nice, solid, ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill. Between 3 and 4 Wassies, won't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I can see this turning up in some decks as a single prize attacker. But then we also got some Paradox Pokemon. We got the 2 Volcarona Pokemon, starting off with Slitherwing. I like Slitherwing. I think Slitherwing could be very, very good. Now again, there's a pointless attack here. Free energy, 130, discard 2. No. It's not good, don't use it. But 2 energy, 20 damage. If your opponent has any future Pokemon in play, this attack does 120 more damage. This could be a very good, very nice, very impactful attack, and I like it. Remember, the 2 energy really doesn't matter very much because we've got Professor Sada's Vitality. That will get that second energy on there with absolutely no issues, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. You're probably going to be playing Earthen Vessel, so you don't even need to play too much fighting energy because you can search it out, discard it, and then just accelerate it with Professor Sada. The thing is, against future decks, this is phenomenal. Now, the obvious one here is against Iron Hands, because you're fighting, so you hit Iron Hands for weakness. Iron Hands has 230 HP. You will smash. You will do great. And remember, Future Boost Energy Capsule just gives you free retreat and extra damage, doesn't make your survivability any higher. So you are going to be doing all right here in terms of just being able to take out Iron Hands. And it's not necessarily just against future box decks. Remember, Chen Pao sometimes has a bit of fun playing around with Iron Hands. We see Lost Box decks playing around with Iron Hands. It is a card that gets around into a bunch of different decks. This is a great counter to it. Even if you're not against Iron Hands, against a future box deck, this can still absolutely put in a shift. You're basically doing 140 damage. So, something like Miraidon. Doesn't have a weakness. You know what else it doesn't have? 140 HP. So you're getting a nice one-hit KO there. You will need to 2-hit KO Iron Crown, which I'm aware is not ideal, but they got 220, you're quite far away, but you're still 2-hit KOing for 2 prizes, and that's a Pokemon that, although can attack sometimes, if you can find a cheeky time to bring it up and 2-hit KO it, yeah, that's quite nice. Obviously far more difficult with Future Booster Energy Capsule giving free retreat, but if you can find a time when you don't think they've got it after something like an Iron-O, for instance, drag this into the active, get a cheeky 2-hit KO, that could be kind of fun. Against non-future decks, it's kind of terrible, low-key, alright? It's not good. So we got a better Slitherwing. But against future decks, this is good. I'm going to give it 4 Wassies. I think it's really good. And it's very narrow, but against future decks, it's really good. So I think 4 Wassies works. And then we finish off with Iron Moth. And you might be interested to note that Shinji Kanta's done the art for both of the Volcarona forms, which is kind of cool. 2 energy, 30 damage, heal as much as you did. This could be a lot better than it looks initially. Because, of course, you've got Iron Crown, which will do an extra 20 damage. And you can have up to 4 of them. And you've got Future Boost Energy Capsule, which does an extra 20 damage as your tool. So although it initially looks like do 30, heal 30, nobody cares, You can be doing 70 with just like one Iron Crown and a Future Booster Energy Capsule, at which point you're KOing evolving basic support Pokemon, etc., while also healing. I'm not saying it's great, but I am saying it's not too bad. Like, in the early game, you don't really want to be using this. Miraidon is better, because it's a single colourless energy that does an extra 10 damage. Miraidon accelerates 2 energy, which is probably even more relevant than what I just said. But the point is, if I just want someone to smack in the early game, Miraidon is way better. But if my opponent's not got a big damage output, this could be fun. 2 fire, 1 colourless, 120 damage. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from ancient Pokemon. I mean, look, against an ancient deck, you know, we've seen things like Armarouge decks play with stuff like Arceus. Armarouge can move all your fire energy to the active. So basically, just set this up and leave it in the active, and it basically checkmates against Ancient Box decks. The thing that worries me here is that Ancient Box does not seem to be as prevalent as Future Box when you build in the fact that Iron Hands is built into so many other decks. I really do think Slitherwing is going to come up quite a lot. Here, it is just against one particular archetype, because future Pokemon really don't seem to get around too much outside of that. But then again, a lot of people are playing Raging Bolt at the moment. Raging Bolt is really trending upwards. But then again, Raging Bolt is going to be played with Ogerpon that will just have a field day taking easy prizes from you. So I'm not sure it's even that good against Raging Bolt. And the problem here is that you are relying on your opponent not having the answer. With Slitherwing, I bring it out, I take the KO, I definitely get value. Here, I bring this out, and I hope my opponent doesn't have an answer. Because if my opponent does have an answer, it's all for nothing. It's not in my control, it's in my opponent's. Whereas with Slitherwing, I'm the one coming out and attacking. If you're playing against a fully ancient deck, and you can just set this up in the active, you basically win, which is amazing. But if your opponent's playing other Pokemon, it doesn't work. If you leave too many other Pokemon on the bench before you get this set up, or your opponent takes too many prizes before this gets rolling, it doesn't work. Against other decks, it doesn't work. I just don't think this is as good. I'm still going to give it an ordinary everyday run-of-the-mill free Wassies. I think it could be useful, but I do think Slitherwing is by far the better of the two. Right, there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you're excited about. Tell me which of these you think you're going to be playing. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Smash Cafe, who have been supporters for a little while now and seem to be very lovely people. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourself till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.